I still remember clear as anything the first morning after we left Seattle. There's this hand on my shoulder, 5 a.m. in the morning. Hey kid, wake up, you gotta see this. It's Seymour. Oh, Seymour Narrows. This was a famous place. I already knew about it. Went up into the pilot house and we were in this narrow canyon of a channel. There was whirlpools all around us. The skipper was, struggling to steer back and forth. Just then this log, the size of a telephone pole, erupts from the water ahead of us and disappears, and the skipper steers away and he says, "That's the kind of crap you don't want to hit, kid." Well, 5 minutes later, he says to me, "Okay, kid, here's where we are in the chart. You're steering for the next 3 hours," and leaves the pilot house. And on the way out the door, he says, "And don't hit anything." My heart was in my throat. I had really exaggerated my experience in order to get this job. Me steering this big boat through Seymour Narrows up to Alaska, but then this kindly Norwegian 70-year-old mate comes over, puts his arm on my shoulder, puts his hand on the steering wheel. "Here, Joe," he says, "here's how we do it." And so began my education as an Alaska fisherman, not only in the nuts and bolts of the trade, how to read a chart, how to use the tide tables, how to steer through tide rips, the rules of the nautical road, but also the lore and legends of the North. It seemed like everywhere we went, this guy had a story. Maybe about the Princess Sophia steamer that went up on the rocks in 1917, I think. 343 people on board. Rescue ships were there. They thought the weather would be better the next day, so they decided to wait. In the middle of the night, the wind came up, blew the ship off the rock, sank, everyone was lost. Or the old whaling plant at Port Armstrong, where they'd haul sperm whales up on the beach. Or places where he worked on a mailboat before radar, and going into some tiny harbor, they'd in the snowstorm, they'd use the horn to get echoes off the sides of the harbor to show them the way in. And that summer of 1965, for me, it was Alaska in capital letters. I mean, we worked for a cannery that was owned by natives. There was totem poles on the dock. There was eagles in the sky. We anchored in harbors where icebergs, bumped into our boat in the middle of the night. For a kid of 18, it was just this most amazing experience, and I learned a tough trade, and then when the summer was over, I had my winter money in my ass pocket. But more than anything else, that season, almost 40 years ago now, 35 years ago, that instilled in me a lifelong fascination with the tales of the North.